The room was alive with tension, though no one dared make a sound. The alien queen sat on her crystalline throne, her luminescent eyes cutting through the darkness like twin suns. Her voice, when it came, was sharper than any blade. "Why have you come here, human?" she demanded, each word vibrating in the air with a force that made the walls themselves tremble. "Do you think we will tolerate your insolence? Speak, or your silence will cost more than you can imagine." The human, a young man named Elias, knelt on the cold, reflective floor. His chest heaved with ragged breaths, sweat glistening on his forehead. He had been brought here hours ago, alone, facing the most powerful being in the galaxy, and not a single word had passed his lips. The court of alien nobles shifted uneasily. The queen's patience was legendary, but even legends had their limits. Elias felt the weight of 1,000 eyes upon him. Not one of them expected him to survive this encounter, and yet there was something stubborn in his posture that neither fear nor desperation could erase. "Answer me," the queen's voice echoed through the chamber, now commanding the very air. "Are you here as a spy, a fool, or a savior?" Elias' mind raced. Every instinct told him to kneel lower, to beg, to say anything that would save his life. But something inside him refused. He had been trained for situations like this, not in the ways of diplomacy, but in the quiet courage of conviction. And deep down, he knew that whatever truth he carried, it was not something he could simply hand over to an alien monarch without thought. The queen rose from her throne, her enormous form shimmering with iridescent scales that caught the light like fire. She moved toward him, each step resonating like the heartbeat of a storm. "You think your silence is dignity?" she hissed. "Do you not understand that time is a luxury you no longer have?" Elias lifted his head, meeting her gaze. In that moment, he felt the enormity of the universe bearing down on him. Here was a being who had ruled countless worlds, a being whose very presence could crush a starship with a thought. And yet, in her eyes, he saw curiosity, a dangerous, consuming curiosity that burned brighter than her fury. He swallowed hard, trying to steady the tremor in his voice. "I am not your enemy," he whispered finally. The words were fragile, yet they cut through the tension like a sword through silk. The queen halted mid-step. The court gasped. A human had spoken, and not with fear, but with defiance and honesty. "Not my enemy," she repeated, her tone almost incredulous. "Do you think mere words can stand against centuries of war and betrayal?" Elias nodded. "I know my words mean little, but actions can speak louder than empires." For the first time, the queen paused completely. Her massive form seemed to shimmer with uncertainty. Elias could see it now, a crack in her armor, a flicker of curiosity that had nothing to do with conquest. This was a moment, fleeting and fragile, where human courage touched something ancient and unknowable. The air in the chamber shifted. Whispers ran through the nobles like wind over a field of glass. No human had ever dared to speak to the queen this way and live. And yet, here he was, kneeling, vulnerable yet unbroken. Finally, the queen turned back to her throne, the weight of her eyes still upon him. "Very well, human," she said, her voice now calm but edged with a dangerous promise. "You will have your chance to prove your words, but understand this: failure will not be forgiven. Not by me, not by my people, not by the universe that has already judged you unworthy." Elias' heart pounded. He did not flinch. He had expected death, rejection, betrayal, but this, a chance, a dangerous, terrifying chance. And in that moment, something shifted, not just in him, but in the room itself. The silence that had dominated the chamber now carried potential, raw, electric potential. A human might be small, fragile, and insignificant in the eyes of the galaxy, but courage could ignite stars. Elias rose slowly to his feet, his voice firmer this time. "I am ready, Your Majesty. Tell me what you need, and I will do it." The queen's eyes glimmered like twin comets in the dark. She leaned forward slightly, and the chamber seemed to inhale with her. "Then, human," she whispered almost to herself, "let the trials begin." And with that, the gates of destiny opened wide. Elias stepped forward, the echoes of the queen's command still resonating in the chamber. The alien court watched him with a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. Few humans had ever dared to speak to the queen like he had. Fewer still had lived afterward. A hidden door opened behind the throne, revealing a tunnel of shimmering energy. "Your first trial begins there," the queen declared, her voice carrying an authority that vibrated through the very floor. "Enter, human, survive, return, or perish." Elia's stomach twisted, but he did not hesitate. He had no choice. Even if he wanted to, fear had lost its grip. He stepped into the tunnel. The walls seemed alive, pulsating with colors that had no name, vibrating with a hum that rattled his bones. It felt like walking inside the heartbeat of a star. As he progressed, visions assaulted his mind, fleeting images of planets burning, civilizations crumbling, and humans enslaved, betrayed, defeated. Elias staggered, gripping his head. "Focus," he muttered under his breath. "Focus on what you know, focus on what you are." Suddenly, the path opened into a vast chamber. Flames danced across the floor and ceiling, yet they did not burn. They were illusions meant to intimidate. From the shadows, monstrous figures emerged. They were creatures of nightmare, their eyes black voids, their claws long enough to pierce armor and bone alike. The first trial, the trial of fire, was not just physical. It was a test of courage, of instinct, of spirit. Elias took a deep breath. He remembered his training, not in alien combat, not in diplomacy, but in the raw, human ability to improvise. Humans survived not because they were the strongest. They survived because they adapted, because they dared, because they refused to give up when the odds were impossible. A monster lunged at him. Elias rolled aside, using his momentum to propel a rock-like shard at the creature. It screeched, recoiling, and Elias realized the shard was more than a weapon. It was a piece of the chamber itself. The environment responded to his will subtly, as if the universe itself acknowledged his courage. He ran deeper into the chamber, dodging, striking, improvising. Each monster that attacked seemed to test something inside him, not strength, but ingenuity. He used the walls, the illusions, the shadows, anything that could give him an edge. Hours, or perhaps minutes, time felt distorted here, passed, each more harrowing than the last. Finally, he reached the heart of the chamber. There, suspended above a pool of liquid that glimmered like molten silver, was an orb. It radiated a warmth that felt comforting and terrifying at the same time. Elias approached, his instincts screaming that touching it would either save him or doom him. The monsters converged, a final wave, but Elias stood his ground. He gripped the orb, and in an instant the chamber reacted. The creatures vanished, the flames dissolved, and the pulsing walls stilled. The energy of the trial coursed through him, not harming but strengthening. Elias realized something profound. The trial had never been about defeating monsters. It had been about trusting himself, trusting human ingenuity, courage, and heart. When he emerged from the tunnel, the queen was waiting, her eyes glowing like twin galaxies. "You survived," she said, her voice quieter than before, almost thoughtful. "Few beings have done what you just did. Few have even dared to try." Elias fell to his knees, exhausted, but he looked up at her. "I survived because I had no choice but to keep moving forward," he said, voice trembling but firm. "Humans survive because we fight, even when the world seems impossible." A silence fell over the court. Whispers ran through the alien nobles like wildfire. The queen studied him, her expression inscrutable. Then slowly she nodded. "Perhaps there is more to humans than I understood," she murmured. "Perhaps the universe has underestimated you." For Elias, those words were more than recognition. They were validation. Not just for him, but for every human who had ever dared to dream beyond the stars. The queen's gaze lingered, as if weighing possibilities that stretched far beyond conquest or diplomacy. And in that moment, Elias realized something he had always known deep in his bones. Humans were fragile, yes, but in their fragility lay courage. In their imperfection lay unpredictability, and in their hearts lay the power to change destinies. The queen's voice finally broke the silence. "Rest, human. Your trials are only beginning, but know this, the galaxy is watching and the future may depend on your next choices." Elias nodded, rising to his feet, exhausted, trembling, but alive. And for the first time, he felt the weight of possibility, not just for himself, but for humanity. The chamber was quiet this time, but the silence carried a weight heavier than any scream. Elias had survived the trial of fire, yet he knew the queen's challenges were only beginning. She did not test strength alone. She tested heart, mind, and soul. A low hum filled the room as a holographic projection appeared before him. It was his home. The streets of his city, the faces of his family, his friends, all recreated with terrifying clarity. And then his mother appeared, reaching out, her eyes filled with fear. "Elias, why did you leave?" the projection asked, her voice trembling. "We need you, don't go, you're all we have." Elias staggered backward. The queen's voice echoed in the chamber, though she remained unseen. "The trial of the mind, human, your greatest weapon and your greatest weakness. Choose wisely or you will break." The air shifted. A choice presented itself. The scene before him was not just a memory, but a living puzzle. Every step he took would affect the holographic world. One wrong decision, one impulse led by fear or anger, and he might destroy everything he loved, not just in memory, but perhaps in some unexplainable connection that tied his actions to real consequences. The illusions whispered, tempting him with shortcuts, lies, and guilt. "Leave them behind, save yourself," one voice urged, taking the form of a friend who had died years ago. "You cannot help everyone." Elias' heart pounded. His hands shook. He could have taken the easy path, walked away, escaped into safety. But humans were defined not by ease, but by choice, by the courage to do what was right even when the cost was unbearable. He closed his eyes, recalling the lessons of survival, ingenuity, and endurance he had learned from the trial of fire. But this was different. This required more than skill. It required trust, not in weapons, not in training, but in his own humanity. Opening his eyes, he walked toward the projection of his mother. "I will not abandon you," he whispered, "even if it costs me everything." The illusion shimmered violently, twisting the city streets into chaos. Shadows clawed at the buildings, flames erupted, and screaming holographic citizens ran in every direction. It was a test of focus, of clarity, of the human heart. Elias acted, not with brute force, but with creativity and empathy. He redirected the holographic chaos, guiding each figure to safety, patching collapsing structures with shards of light he conjured from the chamber itself. The creatures of shadow shrieked as he advanced, but he did not flinch. Hours or maybe seconds, time was impossible to measure, passed before the scene finally stabilized. The holographic city stood intact, the people safe, and his mother smiled at him, proud and relieved. The illusion dissolved, leaving Elias alone in the chamber. The queen appeared, stepping from the shadows, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. "Remarkable," she said, her voice tinged with awe. "Where others would have panicked, fled, or chosen selfish survival, you acted with clarity and compassion. Few beings, few species would do as you have." Elias bowed his head, exhausted but resolute. "I did what humans do," he said quietly. "We fight for each other. We survive together, not alone. That is who we are." The queen's expression softened, though her presence still carried a weight that made the walls vibrate. "Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated humanity," she murmured. "Perhaps humans are more than fragile creatures who stumble through stars, hopping to survive. Perhaps they are something more." Elias felt a strange warmth in the chamber. It was not comfort, not relief. It was recognition. A human, standing alone before an alien monarch, had earned respect through courage, intellect, and heart. But the queen's next words reminded him that the path ahead was far from over. "Rest for now, human," she said. "You have proven your mind and your spirit, but the trials of the galaxy are not finished. The choices you make next will echo far beyond your own life. They may shape the destiny of countless worlds." Elias nodded. He understood now. This was not just about survival, not just about courage. This was about humanity itself, the potential of a single human to inspire, to endure, to defy expectations even in the face of cosmic judgment. As he left the chamber, he felt the weight of possibility pressing upon him. Every step, every decision could change the course of history. And yet, he was ready. Humans survived not because the odds were in their favor, but because they dared to hope, to fight, and to rise when the universe expected them to fall. The queen watched him go, a spark of something unreadable in her eyes. For the first time, she considered that perhaps humans were not merely prey, not merely insignificant. They might be catalysts, dangerous, unpredictable, but powerful beyond measure. And Elias, weary but unbroken, stepped forward into the unknown. The chamber was enormous, larger than any hall Elias had ever seen. The ceiling stretched into darkness, dotted with glowing constellations that seemed alive, shifting as if the universe itself watched. He was not alone. Hundreds of alien captives stood before him, species from countless worlds, each oppressed, defeated, or enslaved by the Queen's empire. "Your next trial," the Queen's voice echoed, vibrating through the chamber, "is the trial of the many. These beings are lost, broken, and afraid. Some will hate you instantly. Others will doubt your strength. Convince them to follow or perish alongside them." Elias' heart raced. He had never commanded anyone before, let alone hundreds of beings from worlds he had never seen. His mind scrambled. How could a human inspire trust among creatures who had survived horrors he could barely imagine? The Queen's gaze bore into him, sharp as a blade. "Remember, human, this trial is not about your survival alone. It is about influence, courage, and the spark that sets others alight. Fail, and their doom will be yours." Elias stepped forward, raising his voice so every captive could hear. "I know I am small," he began, "and different. But we all share something stronger than size, species, or power. We share the will to survive and the choice to rise even when the odds seem impossible." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Skeptical eyes, glowing eyes, insectal mandibles clicked uncertainly, and claws tapped against stone floors. Doubt hung thick in the air. A towering alien stepped forward, its voice a low rumble. "Why should we follow a fragile human?" it demanded. "You are tiny, you have nothing but words." Elias met its gaze calmly. "I am fragile," he admitted, "but humans have something you cannot measure with strength or claws, courage, empathy, and the ability to fight not just for ourselves, but for each other. I may be small, but I am willing to stand here facing death so that we all might have a chance." For a moment the crowd was silent. Then one by one beings began to shift, to murmur, to step closer. Elias noticed a pattern. Trust could be kindled with honesty, courage, and shared purpose. It was not about domination, it was about connection. He walked among them, placing a hand on a trembling arm, nodding to a fearful face, encouraging hesitant gestures of solidarity. "We have all been told we are alone, that we are weak, that the universe does not care about us, but we can prove them wrong, together." A sudden roar erupted as a group of enforcers tried to intervene, testing the prisoners' loyalty. Elias did not hesitate. He charged forward, not with weapons, but with raw audacity. Using quick thinking, he led the captives in a clever maneuver, turning the enforcers' strength against themselves. The aliens saw his bravery firsthand, not calculated, not trained, but human instinct and heart at its fiercest. The tide shifted. The prisoners. Fear melted into trust and trust into action. They followed Elias with energy and determination, inspired not by a human's size or alien power, but by the fact that one being had dared to care, to act, and to stand. The Queen observed silently from above. Her glowing eyes flickered, a mixture of intrigue and disbelief. "Humans," she murmured, "so fragile yet capable of igniting hope where none exists. How remarkable." Elias stood before the newly united crowd, exhausted but resolute. "We are stronger than we know," he said. "We are proof that courage is contagious and hope is unstoppable." A hush fell over the chamber. For the first time, the Queen's throne did not dominate the room. The room belonged, in a way, to the unity she had never expected a human to create. And Elias, small and fragile in form but immense in spirit, had done what countless alien conquerors could not. He had united the many. The Queen finally spoke, her voice echoing like thunder over a calm sea. "You continue to surprise me, human. You wield influence where others see weakness. But know this, the galaxy is cruel and the path ahead will demand more than courage, more than unity. It will demand sacrifice." Elias nodded, aware that this was only the beginning. His trials had proven his courage, his mind, and his heart. But the universe was vast, and the Queen's challenges were far from over. And yet, for the first time, he felt it, the quiet, unstoppable power of humanity. One human could inspire many, and in that inspiration, even the smallest being could change the course of countless lives. As he turned to prepare for whatever came next, the Queen's gaze followed him, studying, calculating, yet undeniably altered by the resilience and heart of one human. The chamber was darker this time, lit only by the faint glow of alien symbols carved into the walls. Elias could feel it before he saw it, a presence that weighed on his chest, heavier than any fear he had faced. The Queen's voice cut through the silence. Your next trial, human, is the trial of sacrifice. Choose the lives of the many or your own. Decide wisely, for the cost will echo across the stars. Before him, a vision appeared. The alien captives he had united, now trapped on a platform slowly lowering into a pit of molten energy. A mechanism hummed ominously, threatening to engulf them all. To stop it, Elias had to activate a device beside him, but doing so would release an energy surge strong enough to kill him instantly. The room seemed to close in on him. He had survived fire, mind, and unity. But this was different. This was not about ingenuity or courage alone. This demanded a human heart, the willingness to place others above oneself. One of the alien captives cried out, looking toward Elias. Do something, human, save us. Elias swallowed hard, his pulse racing. His mind raced. Every instinct told him to hesitate, to calculate, to find another way. But he knew, deep down, that hesitation could cost hundreds of lives. Humans were fragile, yes, but they were also capable of selflessness beyond imagination. He took a deep breath. I will do it, he whispered, voice trembling but steady, because I must. He activated the device. Energy coursed through the chamber, a blinding brilliance that burned against his senses. The air vibrated with raw power, and Elias felt his body convulsing under the force. Pain lanced through him, stronger than any he had endured, but still he held on. The captives screamed in fear, then relief, as the platform halted just above the molten pit. They were safe. Elias' vision blurred. The energy surged, threatening to tear him apart. He fell to his knees, gasping, sweat and blood mingling, but he refused to let fear break him. And then a voice, clear and calm, cut through the chaos. Enough. The Queen stepped forward, her massive form silhouetted against the chamber's glow. You would have given your life for those you do not even know, she asked, all mingling with incredulity. Elias' chest heaved. I would, because humans survive for each other. That is what we do. It's not strength alone, it's heart, it's hope, it's sacrifice. For a moment the chamber was silent. Then the Queen's expression softened, a faint shimmer passing over her iridescent scales. No human has ever faced the trial of sacrifice like this. You are remarkable, fragile, yes, small, yes, but the universe may have underestimated your species. The energy that threatened Elias dissipated, as if the universe itself had acknowledged his courage. He collapsed to the ground, trembling but alive. Around him, the captives, once afraid, now inspired, gathered close, offering help, gratitude, and silent respect. Elias looked at them, exhausted but filled with something stronger than fear, purpose. Every human, he realized, carried the same potential, not merely to survive, but to endure, to protect, to inspire. That was their strength. That was the gift the universe could never predict. The Queen observed quietly, her eyes reflecting the swirling colors of the chamber. You continue to defy expectations, human, she said. You act with courage, ingenuity, unity, and now selflessness. Perhaps humanity is not a species to be dismissed lightly. Elias struggled to stand, but he did. His body ached, his spirit was bruised, but his heart burned brighter than ever. We do what we must, he said, voice steady. Not because we are strong, but because we care. That is what makes us human. For the first time, the Queen allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible nod. Very well, she murmured. You have proven yourself in ways I never expected. But know this, the greatest trials are yet to come. The galaxy is not kind to those who dare to hope. You must be ready. Elias met her gaze, unwavering. I am ready, he said, and he truly was. Though the trial of sacrifice had tested him to the limits of body and spirit, it had also illuminated the truth he had carried all along. Humans were fragile, yes, but in their fragility lay resilience. In their heart lay courage. And in their willingness to sacrifice for others lay power the galaxy had never seen. The Queen's eyes lingered on him as he turned to the captives. He had survived, Not by might, not by fear, but by the most human of strengths, heart. And in that moment, a seed was planted in the cosmos, one that could never be erased. Never underestimate humanity. The chamber was silent, but it felt alive. Shadows stretched like fingers along the walls, and the faint hum of alien energy thrummed in Elia's chest. The queen stood at the far end, her massive form radiating authority, her eyes reflecting galaxies. "This trial," she said, her voice low, almost reverent, "is unlike the others. It is not strength, nor courage, nor sacrifice that will be tested. It is vision, the ability to see beyond the present, to navigate chaos, and to shape the future itself. Humans, your species is small, fragile, but perhaps capable of more than I imagined. Show me." Before Elias, a vast holographic map of the galaxy unfolded. Systems burned. Worlds teetered on the brink of annihilation. Alien empires clashed, civilizations fractured. At the center was a planet marked in crimson, his final destination. The Queen spoke again. "Chaos spreads. A single choice can change the outcome of entire worlds. Lead wisely, act decisively, fail, and all may be lost." Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. He could feel the pressure crushing him, yet something deep inside, human determination, pushed him forward. The first obstacle emerged almost immediately. A fleet of alien warships blockaded a vital supply route. They were far superior in firepower, but Elias remembered what made humans different. Humans were not always the strongest, but they were unpredictable, adaptive, clever. He analyzed the situation quickly. The fleet's formations were rigid, their communication predictable. Using a combination of decoys, rapid maneuvers, and feints, Elias directed Allied ships in ways no alien strategist could anticipate. The blockade crumbled. The supply line was open. Next, a planetary rebellion erupted on a distant world. Elias had no weapons, no armies, only strategy and intuition. He instructed the rebels to strike in unity, to communicate silently through signals humans had never used before. They coordinated attacks, sabotaged key installations, and minimized civilian casualties. In hours, or what felt like hours, the rebellion succeeded, a planet saved by ingenuity and leadership. Each challenge pushed him further. Civilizations on the brink of war were calmed by negotiation, disaster zones stabilized by clever solutions, alliances formed through understanding and empathy. Every time he acted, the Queen observed, her expression shifting from skepticism to fascination. "You are remarkable," she said finally, as Elias orchestrated the safe evacuation of a planet under siege. "A human leading not with power but with vision. Perhaps this species is more than I gave them credit for." Elias felt exhaustion clawing at him, yet he pressed on. He realized something profound. Humans could not rely on sheer strength to shape the galaxy, but their unique ability to think, to adapt, to connect, and to inspire. This was a force the universe had underestimated. The final simulation appeared, the crimson planet at the center. It was under attack from multiple fronts. Failure meant annihilation. Elias' mind raced. He deployed everything he had learned, the courage to act, the empathy to inspire, the ingenuity to outthink opponents, the selflessness to sacrifice for the greater good. The alien forces advanced, but Elias predicted their every move. Using subtle diversions, precise maneuvers, and clever misdirection, he neutralized threats without a single life lost. The planet remained safe, its people inspired by his leadership, their hope rekindled. Finally, he stood before the Queen once more. His body was battered, his mind exhausted, but his spirit burned brighter than ever. "I have done what humans do," he said. "We survive, we adapt, we fight not for ourselves but for others, and when we lead with heart, vision, and hope." The Queen's eyes glimmered with something Elias had never seen before, respect, or even a hint of something like humility. "I underestimated you, underestimated your species," she admitted. "Humans are fragile, yes, but you possess a spark, a vision that can shape the cosmos itself." Elias nodded. "Fragile, yes, but capable of greatness. We may stumble, we may fall, but we rise. That is what makes us human." For the first time, the Queen stepped closer, not as a ruler demanding obedience, but as a being witnessing potential. You have survived trials beyond what any human or alien could endure. And yet, there is one final choice remaining. Elias' heart quickened. He had faced fire, mind, unity, sacrifice, and vision. What could be left? And yet he was ready. Humans were not the strongest, the fastest, or the largest, but they were resilient. They dared. They endured, and Elias was about to prove it once more. The chamber fell into silence, the stars above watching. The final trial awaited. The chamber was silent, but the air thrummed with anticipation. Elias stood alone, the queen towering above him on her crystalline throne. Every trial had tested him: fire, mind, unity, sacrifice, vision. But the final trial was unlike any he had imagined. The queen's voice echoed through the room, calm yet commanding. "This is the trial of destiny, human. You have survived challenges that would have broken countless others. But now, the galaxy itself calls upon you to decide. A choice must be made, one that will shape the future of civilizations. Choose wisely, for your decision will echo through eternity." Before Elias, a holographic projection unfolded, a map of countless worlds, civilizations teetering on the brink of war, annihilation, or oppression. The queen gestured, and the projection expanded, revealing two stark paths. "Path 1," she said, "ensures peace and order under my guidance. Many lives will be spared, but freedom will be constrained and human influence limited." Her gaze sharpened. "Path 2 allows chaos, uncertainty, and risk, but it gives humans and others the chance to shape their own destinies. Lives may be lost, yet greatness may rise." Elias' chest tightened. Every instinct screamed caution, yet his heart told him something he had known all along. Humanity thrived not under control, but through courage, freedom, and the power to choose. He recalled the trials he had endured, the fire that tested his courage, the illusions that tested his mind, the unity he had inspired, the sacrifices he had made, and the vision he had used to save entire worlds. Each had led to this moment. "I choose," he began, his voice echoing through the chamber, steady despite exhaustion. "I choose freedom. I choose possibility. I choose the chance for humans and all species to rise through their own courage, not under fear or control." The queen's massive form shimmered. For a moment, she said nothing. The court of alien nobles leaned forward, tension slicing through the chamber like a blade. Few had ever heard the queen pause in this way. "Freedom," she whispered, her voice almost a sigh. "You would risk everything." Elias stepped forward, lifting his chin. "Yes, humans are fragile, yes, but we endure, we fight, we rise from the impossible. Control may preserve life, but courage, heart, and hope create greatness. That is what makes us human." A ripple of energy surged through the chamber. The queen's eyes glimmered like twin supernovae, reflecting not judgment, but awe. Slowly, she descended from her throne and approached him, not as a ruler, but as a witness to something she had never understood. "Perhaps the universe has underestimated humans," she said softly. "You are small, fragile, insignificant in appearance, yet capable of shaping destinies in ways I cannot command or foresee." Elias nodded. Exhaustion weighed on him, but pride and hope burned brighter than any fatigue. "We may stumble, we may fail," he said, "but we never stop trying, and we never stop believing in each other." The queen extended a massive hand, her scales glowing with a soft iridescence. "You have shown me something no conquest, no strategy, no empire could reveal. Humans are more than survival. You are inspiration. You are courage. You are the spark that lights the galaxy." For the first time in history, the queen did not issue orders. She observed, she listened, she learned. And in that moment, Elias realized something extraordinary. The trials had not only tested him, they had changed the universe. The holographic galaxy shimmered, responding to his choice. Chaos remained, yes, but it was the chaos of possibility, of life allowed to grow, falter, and rise again. Freedom rippled through countless worlds, sparking hope, courage, and resilience. Elias sank to his knees, exhausted but triumphant. He had survived every trial, not because he was the strongest or the fastest or the largest, but because he had chosen the human way, with heart, courage, sacrifice, and vision. The queen regarded him, and for the first time she smiled, not the smile of a ruler, but of one who had glimpsed something extraordinary. You have proven that even the smallest beings can change the course of the universe. I will not forget this, human. Elias looked up at her, a faint smile breaking through his fatigue. I hope you will tell others, he said. Humans are fragile, yes, but we endure, and when we rise together. The Queen nodded. I will remember, and perhaps one day the galaxy will too. And with that, Elias stepped forward, not as a mere human kneeling before an alien queen, but as a symbol. A symbol of courage, hope, and the extraordinary power of humanity. The chamber seemed to hum with life, energy, and possibility. The trials were over, the Queen had learned, the galaxy had changed, and humanity had risen. For Elias, for humans, and for countless civilizations across the stars, the impossible had become real. One human, fragile yet unyielding, had reminded the universe that courage, heart, and hope were forces no empire could suppress. The stars outside the chamber shimmered brighter than ever, as if the cosmos itself acknowledged a simple truth: never underestimate humanity.